and on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're ranking F1 drivers in 2020. Just to celebrate, I guess, the end of the Formula One season, which I've really enjoyed so far this season. If you guys don't know, I'm actually a big F1 fan. I really like F1. Let's get into it. So, first up, it's Alex Albon. I like Alex Albon. He's one of my favorite drivers. Pretty much all the 2019 rookie class drivers are going to be up here. My favorites. Those guys are absolutely amazing. Next up, it's Valtteri Bottas. He's kind of a meh negative for me. Just not that exciting of a guy. I mean, he has so much talent. He's not had the luck on his side this year. But Valtteri Bottas just seems like a little bit of a boring guy to me. That's why he's down here in that negative. Next up is Daniel Ricciardo. He's one of my favorite drivers. Just love Daniel Ricciardo. He's such a great guy. He's probably the funniest guy out of all of these F1 drivers. I really like Daniel Ricciardo. I'm so glad that he's at McLaren with Lando Norris next year. Excited to see that duo perform in the McLarens next year. Next up is Esteban Ocon. Since he was kind of a Renault driver, it's somewhere in between here, but I really just don't really like Esteban Ocon that much. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't give me good vibes when I hear Esteban Ocon. It's not just his name. I mean, he's done some questionable things on track, and that's why I just dislike really Esteban Ocon. Next up is Pierre Gasly. I like Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly won at Monza this year, and it was amazing. I mean, he held off Carlos Sainz when I guess the race projections said that Carlos was going to pass him and win by a second or two. I mean, it was pretty impressive by the Frenchman this year in Monza, and I'm a real Pierre Gasly fan, especially after that. Next up is Antonio Giovinazzi. He's sort of, I guess, between meh positive and meh negative. Alfa Romeo driver. He's kind of in the same rank as Bottas, but I mean, his hair is amazing, so I'll put him in meh positive. He's done some good things this year. He's made it into Q3. He's gotten out of Q1, obviously. It's kind of a meh for Antonio Giovinazzi. The only thing I really would put him in the meh positive was his hair. Next up is Romain Grosjean, and I know you guys most likely heard about his crash at Bahrain this past Sunday. It was pretty horrific. I'd say watching it. I'm recording. I really didn't. I didn't wake up to watch the race, and I was surprised really when I didn't see any race highlights on my phone. So I watched the race replay because I recorded all the F1 races just in case. I just wanted to watch the entire thing. So that's what I did, and yeah, it was pretty horrifying to watch. His car exploded. It obviously went through the barrier. It's miraculous. It's just sight to see. You know, the safety. It's gone such a long way in F1. I'm so glad they had the halo. It definitely saved Roman's life. So, but even before this incident, I like Romain Grosjean. Mostly because he races for Haas, which is obviously what you guys know as the NASCAR team. Stuart Haas Racing. But yeah, that's why I like both. Kind of like the Haas drivers. Kevin Harvick's my favorite driver in NASCAR. So yeah, I'll put Kevin Magnussen K Mag up in net positive since Romain is my favorite out of the two. Magnussen, I mean, it could be a man negative um, if he didn't race for Haas, but Magnussen just seems like a good guy, so I'll put him in net positive. Next up is Kimi Räikkönen, the Kyle Busch of NASCAR, or the Kyle Busch of F1. It's kind of in net. It's kind of in between here, but I'll put him net positive. And Kimi is he's a funny guy. Kimi is. His radios are always just so awesome to hear, like the monotones that he speaks, and he's the Kyle Busch of F1 for sure, and has been throughout his entire career. And I've loved to watch Kimi Räikkönen race, whether it was at Ferrari or right now in the Alfa Romeos. So yeah, Kimi Räikkönen is a net positive for me. Next up, it's the Torpedo, Danny Kvyat. Yeah, it's between here, but Kvyat, I mean, when he raced at Red Bull, got kicked out. It's kind of a man negative, same as Bottas. So yeah, that's why I have the Torpedo there. Next up, it's Lando Norris, my favorite driver personally. Lando Norris goes in the favorites. Um, I mean, all these just young drivers are just filled with, just filled to the brim with energy. I love watching the streams. It's really what you get out of these F1 drivers compared to these NASCAR drivers these days. F1 drivers being more open, I guess, and really the NASCAR drivers not really showing much of their real personality away from the track, as we saw all the F1 most of the F1 drivers. Well, the younger ones at least, stream, I guess, this quarantine. We saw Charles Leclerc stream, we saw Lando stream, we even saw Alex Albon stream, George Russell streamed as well. I think Nicholas Latifi also streamed, which was nice to see. Which brings us to Nicholas Latifi. I mean, I really don't get good vibes from Nicholas Latifi. Obviously, I love a Williams driver. I just love how they fight. With those other mid-pack teams being really back markers. But yeah, Nicholas Latifi, I just don't get good vibes from Nicholas Latifi, the Canadian, at all. Next up is Charles Leclerc. I'm putting him at, like, he's not one of my favorites, but I still really like Charles Leclerc. Yeah, Charles, just funny guy, nice guy. We saw a lot of his personality as well during this pandemic, where most of the drivers were streaming. As I said earlier, him and Lando streamed a lot with George and Alex. But yeah, I really like Charles Leclerc. He's definitely gonna be a favorite of mine for a while. Next up is Lewis Hamilton. Most people would put him in not my favorite, but I really respect Lewis Hamilton. I really like him. He's a great guy. He does so much for the community. He's not really selfish. He thinks of other people, and I think that's really important. He thinks about the world. He's just a great guy. He's 7-time world champion now. Before the season even ends, that's insane. I mean, it took Jimmy Johnson his entire career to reach 7 championships, and Lewis, I can still see him going a while. He's still got a lot left in him. I think he could possibly win more championships, and I feel like that'll definitely for sure happen. That's why Lewis Hamilton's in the like category. Next is Max Verstappen. He's a like for me. He's a funny guy. I still remember him and Daniel Ricciardo at Red Bull. Those days were great. I mean, it's like really the Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris thing that's gonna happen this year. Verstappen and I just love seeing those two together. Verstappen and Ricciardo. Those are probably one of the best teammate duos ever. Next up is Sergio Perez. I really like Sergio. He's kind of a journeyman, I guess you could say. He's coming to the end of his career now after this season. Really wish him the best. I've really been a Sergio Perez fan. Yeah, that's why Sergio Perez is one of my favorites. Next up is George Russell. He's one of my favorites. Obviously, like I said earlier, all the 2019 rookies are going to be up here in my favorites. George, just a lot of personality, a lot of talent. He's getting that replacement for Lewis Hamilton after Hamilton found out he had COVID, and will be racing the Bahrain, I guess, oval layout. Obviously, can't see me right now, but I put that in quotation marks because it's not really an oval. It's not like what we're used to seeing the NASCAR ovals. It's more of a F1 type oval, as if you could say. I mean, it's got not that much tricky corners, a lot of flat out. It's gonna be fun to watch. It's similar to the endurance layout, but yeah, I think it'll be exciting to watch this weekend. And exciting to see what George Russell could do in a Mercedes. Next up is Carlos Sainz. He's been one of my favorite drivers for a while. I've loved seeing him and Lando be teammates. It was fun times these 2 years, and sad to see that it will come to an end at this year. But also at the same time, we'll be welcoming in Daniel Ricciardo. Yeah, that's really why I like Carlos Sainz. Chili. Next up, it's Lance Stroll, the Canadian. It's kind of between net positive and net negative for me. I mean, Lance Stroll, young driver with a lot of energy, obviously got his first pole this season. I like Lance Stroll a lot, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, sometimes gives me negative vibes for Lance Stroll. But I'll put him in net positive for now. And last but not least, it's Sebastian Vettel. I've been a Sebastian Vettel fan for a very long time, and probably will continue to be a Sebastian Vettel fan as he takes over for Sergio Perez after the season, or after this season's over. Um, Racing Point will be rebranded to Aston Martin and go to that green livery, which would be cool to see Sebastian Vettel somewhere else. But Ferrari, obviously, he started his career at Red Bull, where I think he won he won his championships at Red Bull. So that was, I love seeing those days. I mean, Seb, just a great guy. I mean, it's turned into someone, well, from someone that everyone hated to someone everyone loved, and yeah, that's really why I've loved Sebastian Vettel. And that'll be it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Consider hitting that like button. Consider subscribing. It's all free. Thank you for watching and have a good day.